All right, to the markets, the JSE closing firmer this afternoon. We've had the all-share closing about 1% in the red, and the rand also significantly higher on the day, or at least resilient against the US dollar. Let's bring in Gary Booysen from Rand Swiss. Gary, thanks indeed for talking to us. So, I suppose we had inflation concerns in the US, and the moment that started happening, we saw the markets really getting shrugged off and dropping for some weeks now. But now I see, things have changed. Investors are not too concerned about US inflation. The markets are actually doing good today. Is that the biggest driver, you think?
Yeah, I think certainly what's going on in the US always affects our local market, and we've really got the beginning of the US earnings season now. So we've had JP Morgan reporting, and they're just pointing to the much stronger US economy that we've seen, and because of that, they've actually reduced their provisions significantly. So they've actually reported earnings 5 times higher than the last reporting period. So it's a good start to earnings season, and I think it's maybe got people thinking. They're looking at it and saying, if this US economy is so strong, at the same time that we have enormous stimulus both from the fiscal side and the monetary side coming in, and we've got someone like Jamie Dimon commenting and saying that a lot of the provisions that they've put in place for bad loans haven't been required, and a lot of the businesses have actually survived the coronavirus period. Suddenly markets are looking very, very attractive, and that obviously boosted markets in the US. That's fed through to Asia, and it's fed through to our local market today as well.
I'm wondering what's behind the rand's resilience. I mean, we saw this level, 14 rand 40 to the US dollar. It looks like it wants to hover around that area, despite losing some traction a few days ago. The question is, is this a sort of a new level for the rand, or are we still at the mercy of what happens internationally with the US dollar as well?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking at the rand-dollar pair, the dollar is always going to play a large role in that. But the rand has been very, very strong, even as part of an emerging market basket. It's one of the strongest emerging market currencies against the dollar. So this isn't just the dollar weakening. This is the rand performing fairly well on top of that. We're seeing all emerging market currencies picking up, and it's just as that kind of risk on trade plays out, people are more optimistic that we're going to have a successful global vaccine rollout, and that we're going to see a return to business as usual, and that's obviously lifting emerging market currencies. So we've got the rand. The rand was trading between about 14.50 to the dollar to about 15.50 to the dollar was the established range. Today we've sort of seen it breaking below 14.50 for the first time in a long time, getting all the way down to 14.38 currently.
Gary, before I let you go, EOH releasing results today. I mean, here's a company that was embroiled in these dodgy contracts, but seems to be recovering. Still some way to go on that debt issue. What do you make of what was shown today?
So it's a business in transition at the moment. Essentially they've had a big knock in revenue. I think their revenue is down around 29%. But that's not necessarily a bad thing if you consider how EOH as a business is created. It's created from multiple small kind of owner entrepreneurs that work in the ICT space. And what the company's been doing is they've been selling off all their non-core assets and their non-profitable assets. So obviously you would expect the top line to come down. What this has achieved, though, is it's left the business on a much, much stronger footing. It's helped it to deleverage the business a little bit, but at the same time they're left with a very profitable stable, and we're seeing that coming through in their gross margin numbers. Up from 20, their gross margin sitting at 24.2% last period, up to 27.6% now. So it's a smaller business but a more profitable business as it kind of puts those legacy issues that you mentioned behind it.
All right, thanks very much indeed for those insights. Gary Booysen is from Rand Swiss.